When teachers plan on a lesson, they know what they want to do. They know what they want their students to be able to do at the end of a lesson. To have a learning target accessible for the students and have them be able to see it, share what it means to them, talk about it with other students, it's really important. They become a part of the lesson. So it kind of welcomes them into becoming a part of the lesson. I feel that I need to go over that learning target with them in the beginning. Usually it's in the beginning of a lesson. I like to front load vocabulary for them, especially if it's new, being able to explain what it is, what it's about, how it connects to things that we have previously learned. Also making connections, even the review of the previous day, just how it connects and builds upon one another, especially in math. How it builds upon and the uses of in real life. So it's important to go over all of that so that they know what they're doing. They know what the activity is, but the most important part is knowing how am I going to be successful that day. I like them to turn and talk and put it in their own language and be accountable for their learning that day. Sometimes it might be necessary to do this to go over that learning criteria after the mini lesson. But whenever you do it, it's just really important for the students.
Hey, you all. Before we start math class today, I'm actually going to tell you a story. Ready for the story? Yes. I love telling stories. So, this story takes place in a land far, far away called Capacity Kingdom. Okay, now in Capacity Kingdom, there is a giant. Okay, now giants are big. Okay, giants are big. This giant's name, it's a very creative name, King G. Get it? Because he's a giant. Okay, all right, so this is his name, King G. Okay, now King G doesn't only have one queen, he has 4 queens. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and place this here. Go along with my story. We have 4 queens to King G. They lived happily ever after in this land of Capacity Kingdom, and they got along really, really well. Really well. Okay, they fit together very nicely in a nice family unit. Okay, and we're going to use this family unit to explain all about capacity today. Okay? Would you like to know a little bit more about the characters?
Yes.
All right, so let's learn a little bit more about the characters. We have King G, who's actually a gallon. Okay? And we have the queen, who's actually a quart. How many quarts are in a gallon?
2.
Look at the red quarts. Look at the Q. How many quarts do you think are in a gallon? 4. How about that? 4 quarts are in a gallon. Okay, so we have also, belonging to each queen, we have what? A prince and a princess. They are pints. Okay, everyone say pints?
Pints.
Okay, not pints. A lot of people like to look at that word and say pints, but they're pints. Okay, so we have a prince and princess. 2 pints for every court or every queen. And then we have our crowns or our cups. Okay, and there's 2 cups to every prince or princess or pints. Okay, and remember what's on their crowns? What are they? Opals. Opals. Opals actually stands for fluid ounces. Okay, there's 8 fluid ounces in every cup. Let's think about that. So throughout the lesson, we're going to actually figure out, are we going to get smaller unit, and what are we going to do? Are we going to what?
Multiply or divide.
We don't know yet. So we're going to figure that out during today's lesson. So we're going to figure out how to fluidly convert units of capacity by what? Multiplying or dividing to create smaller or larger units. I want you to take a moment to talk to each other about what we're going to learn today. Who wants to tell me? What are you going to do today? Let's just hear. What are you going to do today? Real quick.
Capacity.
Capacity is a hard word, isn't it? What is capacity?
Capacity capacity or liquid volume.
Very good, liquid volume. Okay, we're going to learn about that, and we're going to learn how to do what with them. We're going to learn to do what?
See if you get a larger or smaller by multiplying them.
Yes, yes. So we're going to be converting them. Does anyone know another word for convert? What does convert mean? Convert's a pretty big word. What's convert mean? Well, we're comparing bigger and smaller units, but when we convert them, we actually, does anyone know what the word is? Okay, we're going to change them. So we're going to change them to bigger or smaller. So converting, changing them from bigger to smaller units. Okay. Fluid ounces. So we have, I love that you said 8, because 8 fluid ounces, right? So basically what I'm doing is I'm multiplying 6 times 8. And what am I getting there?
48.
48. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this up to the rest of them, and I want you to group up in your partners, and I want you to figure them out. And when you're finished figuring them out, I want you to find someone else that has not figured it out yet and start asking them questions. Go. Go.
So for the second one,
I was kind of a little bit confused for a little bit, and so I knew that a quart equals 4 cups, and then I thought you would be multiplying it by 10 because it would be a 4, and then it would equal 40 pints.
well, I could see how you do that. I mean, I think it's sometimes, I mean, I bet I
I love how you said you're thinking, JD. Thank you.
So, 10 quarts equals 1 pint. I got 20 because there's 2 pints in each in 1 quart. So I did 10 times 2, which equals 20.
Awesome. I have a bigger unit and I'm going down to a smaller unit. And when I convert or change units between a bigger unit and a smaller unit, I have more of these units, right? I have more of them. And when I need more units, I need to do what to it?
multiply.
I'm going to be multiplying. Does everyone understand that it's multiplying to get more units? I need to multiply. So that's the multiplication, okay? And they're all kind of, we're practicing on one at a time. Now, what do you think our next practice will be? Division. So what do you think that's going from a what to a what?
Smaller
A smaller unit to a bigger unit. So now I'm going to go from a smaller to a bigger. There's going to be more of these in here, so I'm going to have less of the bigger unit, right? So when I get something less than, I'm going to need to divide to get a smaller number, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and look at this really quickly. Yes.
I like to revisit the learning target with my students throughout the lesson. A very natural time to do this would be during the catch and release time during the workshop model. During that catch and release time, I like to check in on their progress, but students can begin to evaluate themselves as well. They can ask themselves questions like, how am I doing? What is my level of success right now? What questions do I need to ask to further my understanding? Where am I at? So it's my time to check in on them, and I can review, this is what we're doing, but this is how you're successful this day. But they really can start to evaluate themselves, and that's the most important thing, to figure out where they are at, so they are accountable. And it's also a time that we can refocus some of them. Some of my students might lose their focus in midway through the lesson, and this is their time to, let's refocus. This is what we're learning. This is what we're trying to do, and then they can redirect themselves easily.
Yay! And like I said, I love that you didn't have the answer, but you came up because you were willing to try, and that's all I ever expected of you all, so that's wonderful. Thank you. Okay, so let's check in real quick to see how we're doing. Now, we're not completely there yet, but I think we're getting there. Don't you agree? I want you to start assessing yourself, okay? Start assessing yourself. So, first of all, today I'm learning about units of capacity within the U.S. customary system. Have we been learning about U.S.
Yes.
units of capacity? Can we name them? Can we name the units? Let's name them from largest to smallest. What are they?
Gallons, quarts, pints, and cups.
And what's on those crowns, those cups? What do we have inside those cups? The ovals. But what do we Fluid ounces. What kind of ounces?
Fluid ounces.
And how many ounces? Fluid ounces?
8.
8 fluid ounces in every cup. Very good. Okay, so I think we are learning about those units of capacity, but what are we doing with them? We are what? Converting them, changing them from smaller to larger units or larger units. So we're doing both. How do you feel you're getting with that? Are you understanding that a little bit?
Yeah.
How many of us need a little bit more time practicing? I think a lot of us. Yeah, we're just learning it, and that's totally okay. So when will we know we absolutely have this? When we can fluidly convert units of capacity by multiplying or dividing to create smaller or larger units of measurement. What do I mean by fluently? What do I mean by that? Does that mean like how fast you can do it? No. What does it mean fluently? Bridget, what does it mean fluently?
Whenever I think fluently, like, whenever you can fluently multiply and divide, is like you can do it in your head without like having to write it on paper and take like an hour or so.
Take like an hour or so to do it. Okay, so you're doing it, yes, in a nice time frame where you're not rushing through it. You're not trying to do it as fast as you can. But Connor, you want to add to that?
Also, another way to explain it is how I explained it a long time ago.
Tell us again.
When teachers tell you, like, walk with a purpose, they're meaning, like, don't go as slow as you can and take as much time as you want, but you have to do it in the time that you have.
That's right. Very nice.
So that whenever at the end of class you'll have a better understanding of what you did.
That was beautiful. We can get there by the end of class. Okay, so you know that wonderful story that you have sketches of in your notebook? Well, we have a clean sketch right here as well, because I know mine on the board was not that neat, was it? This one's much neater, so we can have this in our notebook. And also, here's another thing that I thought would be great for your learning. When we did this, we separated. The first time, we did what? We went from big to small, right?
Yes.
And we multiplied. Then we went from what?
Small to big.
And we divided. This is all mixed up. So you really have to think about what units. Are you going from a bigger unit or a smaller unit? And what are you going to do, multiply or divide? So this is really going to get you thinking and seeing how fluently you can do that. Okay? They were working with urgency, and they were striving towards understanding. If you didn't know what to do, you were asking questions to your neighbor about it. So I thought that was fantastic. And some of us are not completely finished, but we're still working on our target, aren't we? We might not be fluently converting, but we're converting, aren't we? And we're figuring out, should we multiply or should we divide? I think that seems to be the hardest. Is there anything else that caused you a little problem so far? Was it just figuring out? Raise your hand if it was just figuring out, do I multiply or do I divide? Okay. Was there anything else that was causing you problems? Connor?
Well, when we kept, on the first one it says 1 gallon into blank pints. When on your common customary measurements, it doesn't say how many times pints can go into a gallon.
Very good. So what did you have to do? Did you look at your illustration at all? And what did you discover?
I saw that 2 cups went into 1 pint. So I multiplied 4 times 2, and I got 8.
Okay, because there were 4 quarts in a gallon. You did 2 pints in a quart, and then 4 quarts in a gallon, and then 2 times 4 is actually 8. So we got to think about where we are, and it's totally okay if we're not exactly there, but let's look at what we've done. Everybody look up here? Okay, so today I'm learning about units of capacity within the U.S. customary system. Do you think you know those units of capacity?
Yes.
Can we name them from biggest to smallest?
Yes.
Gallon.
Quarts, pints, cups.
Fluid ounces. Fluid ounces. How many fluid ounces are in a cup?
8.
Yes. Okay. So we are converting them to smaller or larger units. Yes. Have we done that today?
Yes.
Okay. I'll have it when I can fluently convert units of capacity by multiplying or dividing to create smaller or larger units of measurement. Now, think about all of that for a moment. And I want you to think of your learning today from the beginning to the end. Okay. How many of you feel that you have grown today as a mathematician? How many of you feel that you have learned a lot more about the capacity, the U.S. measurement? Okay, U.S. customary measurement units of capacity. Boy, that's a mouthful. Okay.
At the end of a lesson, I have students reflect on their learning, and this is when they assess their achievements, which is pretty exciting. They first categorize themselves in blue, yellow, or red. They place a magnet number in the blue section if they feel that they have completely understood everything that they were supposed to in the lesson. They met all of their criteria. They could even teach someone else in the classroom everything that they just learned. The yellow category is they understood, but they just need a little bit more practice. Maybe it's time. They just need more time. Red is they are really at a stop sign right now. They need to really just think about what they need to ask. What questions do they need to ask? They need help. They need assistance. They need assistance from other students. They need assistance from the teacher. They just don't quite understand what was being asked that day. This leads them into writing in their learning log, which is something that they've learned, very specific, something that they learned that day, but also what are their next steps and how can they further their understanding going into tomorrow. So it's a daily learning log that they get to share with others, which is the most exciting part of the lesson because they feel so proud. They have ownership in their learning that day, and they're so proud to share that and make connections with others. Best part of the lesson.
Jocelyn?
Today I learned how to convert gallons, quarts, pints, and fluid ounces into smaller or larger numbers by using times or division.
Okay, excellent. Izzy?
Today I learned capacity of the customary system, and now I need to learn the next unit.
Yeah, you're ready for more measurement units. Okay, Caitlin? And how are you going to remember the capacity units? How are you going to remember it? Huh?
With the story.
The story. Did anybody connect with the story and felt that the story is going to help you remember all the units of capacity? I'm going to let you in on a secret. I really wish I knew this story when I was your age. The U.S. capacity, the units of capacity were the hardest for me to remember. They were the hardest because there were so many of them. How many cups are in a pint, and pints and quarts and gallons and fluid ounces? It was hard to keep them all straight. So I'm really glad that this story brought that for you all together in one King G, right? One King G is able to house all of that information, and you're able to sketch that on your paper and be able to convert pretty easily now. Yes?